Hello guys, and today I'm going to eat something called a chocolate sponge pudding, okay? Now I got it from this recipe book that I bought many years ago. It said 500 recipes for budget meals. This is basically for poor people, and I usually cut down a lot of the ingredients, okay? This is it in the book. Now they do give you ingredients for a standard sponge pudding, and they also give you something for a variation, okay, called chocolate sponge pudding, okay, which is what I did, okay. Now, in the instructions it tells you to use cocoa powder, which I don't have, or corn flour, which I either don't have or can't find, okay. Not quickly anyway, right? I'll probably find it somewhere when I'm least looking for it, okay? Because I bought a lot of things over time, okay? And so instead, because I had it, I had a chocolate milkshake mix, okay? So I had some powder which you're meant to add to milk to make a milkshake, okay? Which is made by Cadbury's. And I used that instead of the cocoa powder, simply because I'm trying to use it up, and simply because it's what I've already got, and I didn't want to go out and buy some cocoa powder just for this. It's not worth it, okay? When I can try and finish up the milkshake powder, which I'm not using at the moment because it's truthfully not the right weather for it at the moment, okay, in my opinion. Milkshakes are better generally when it's cold, okay? Sorry, I mean when it's warm, not when it's cold, okay? Sorry. Although, in fairness, if I have been to McDonald's in the past, sometimes I've had milkshakes at any time, okay, of the year, okay, to be honest with you. But that's often when I've been eating it with a hot, you know, burger or something at the same time. Anyway. So I'm going to show you now how to make the sponge pudding. Now, after that, I'm going to be fair. I'm going to give a fair disclaimer here. I'm actually recording this introduction after I've already eaten it. So I actually ate it first before making this introduction. Normally it's the way around. Normally I do the introduction first and I make it. But for various reasons, I actually made it first, then I recorded this introduction. Now, I didn't originally intend to add any custard to it. That was not my initial intention. And I'm not sure if I've even made any custard unless it's been part of some other thing that's been being made, okay? Right, I may have done it indirectly, but not on its own just for custard. So I also have several tins of custard to use up, which are about nearly 3 years out of date. So I'm using them up, okay? So for that reason I'm using tin custard. Tin custard is very easy to get in the West, I believe, right? And I don't think in the modern world anybody really makes their own custard anymore, to be completely honest with you, when you can just easily buy a tin of it. I could be wrong, but that's my impression, okay? So for that reason I used tinned custard. I did not make the custard myself, but the actual sponge pudding I did myself from scratch using raw ingredients, okay? The exception, as I said, is the Cadbury's chocolate powder, which was meant to be used to make a milkshake, but I've only used that as a substitute for cocoa powder and what they call corn flour, okay? I don't think there's any corn flour actually in the I'm not sure if there's any corn flour actually in the milkshake mix, but they had all sorts of other ingredients as well, so I assume it might be very similar, okay? And maybe because they said mixed cocoa powder with corn flour, it might be the equivalent of whatever Cadbury's did, except I think Cadbury's added some extra stuff as well, but it was good enough anyway, okay? So I'm now going to say bye, but not quite, because now you'll see what I did earlier, okay? And ironically, the thing that I found the most difficult, which is the stupidest thing of all, the most simplest thing possible, was actually weighing the ingredients out. Because the electronic scales seemed to keep changing. You know, they didn't, when I put things on there and took them off my hands, it didn't seem to take it off properly, in my opinion. And I found out later the battery's going low, so maybe it's not as accurate as it should be. I don't know. So the thing that should be the easiest, weighing the ingredients, I found the hardest. Believe it or not, the rest of it was quite simple. After I'd majored and eaten it, I realised that perhaps this is the same practically as when I did the chocolate muffins. Okay, so I originally did some chocolate muffins, and I think it seemed to be practically the same thing in terms of how it turned out. Just that the only real difference from what I can tell is that it was just, you know, what I put the mixture in. You know, instead of putting it with the muffins, I obviously put them into a cake tin. You know, and made lots of them. With the sponge pudding, it seemed to be just all in a pie tin. Okay. So anyway, I won't bore you anymore. I'll now hand over to my earlier self. Right. So thanks for watching. Bye for me, but don't stop watching, because now you'll see from the very beginning me actually cooking from scratch with real ingredients, I say with the exception of the milkshake mix, a chocolate sponge pudding. Okay? Bye, but carry on watching. Right. Right, I'm first of all going to put 50 grams of self-raising flour in. Okay, it's a bit too much, so I'll take some of it out. I'm not convinced this is actually accurate. Okay. Well, I'll find out in a minute anyway. So if I start with that and assume it's just... I'm going to find how much a normal plate weighs. I shouldn't have to deal with this rubbish. Right. 26. How come? That's ridiculous. It weighs less. That's impossible. Yep, it's impossible, but it actually weighs less with the flour on, which is ridiculous. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. It's ridiculous. Okay. Right, so anyway. Right, so I'm going to assume it's about 20, okay? I know it should just work, but you know. This is the problems you have with things like this, so okay. I'm going to put in some, so what I did earlier was I used some self-raising flour. And we're meant to put 50 grams in. I think the sieve itself weighed about 30, so if I just take this off a minute. So that was 800, it's doing negative, and it's 60, so it's about 30, so God, this is useless. I shouldn't have these problems. Sorry about all this, guys, it's ridiculous. Okay, if I now put another sieve on, that's 45. I think the other sieve was about 30, so oh, this is absolutely ridiculous, and I didn't want to do it this way, but I have absolutely no choice. Right, okay. Alright, so it's about 20 for the plate. It's 10. What? I could always put the excess back in. Right, now. Now I'm going to try that. So it's been sifted. It's not the way you're supposed to do this, but it'll do for now. Right. Also, I'm going to use is some. Right, so that's it. It's $3.92. And this is about 90 in there. It's probably too much, but it doesn't matter. Right, but I just wanted to see, so I've started with a brand new one that's 311, okay? Right, so what I'm going to do, see if it'll do it this time. 336. Again, it's still too much, so. $136. 336. 386. God, this is bloody hell. Okay, that's probably enough. It's now on. What's it? Variable. $126. I wonder. Swine. Okay. Okay. Okay, if you can't beat them, right, I'm going to do this the hard way. Sorry about all this. Right, I'm going to start again. This is an absolute nightmare. It shouldn't be like this. Right, so now in here, is it so far full? I'm going to put a lot of flour in here. I'm going to put some sugar in as well. Not sugar, sorry, I mean salt. So I've got some table salt. I've got some salt by Sainsbury's. So I have some salt. I'm going to put some of that in. It says use a pinch. I'm just going to put some of it in. And it tells you to also use some you're supposed to use some cocoa powder. I haven't got any, so I'm using some choc shake, basically milkshake mix. It's not what you're supposed to use at all, but I'm going to use it because it's all I've got. I'm going to put in that. I know this is a total mess. I prefer to do it in a bowl, to be honest, but it's an absolute pig. There you go. And that'll do for me as far as I'm concerned. If it's the wrong amount, I'm sorry. I've had enough. Right. Now, I'm going to put that aside for now. And let's see how much that would be. So, just a minute. Something this simple shouldn't even need to be filmed. It's so simple. Okay, so that's 116 versus a rough and almost empty plate. 42. 116. It's about 60. So I assume that the a lot of that is the chocolate. It probably won't make that much of a difference, to be totally honest. So okay, right, that's the chocolate and flour and salt. I can normally do it properly. It's just, you know, if things can go wrong when you're filming, they will, and it's an absolute bloody nightmare. Okay, so that's that bit done. And I'm not going to try and shake out the sort out the tea cloth. Right, now I'm going to add the caster sugar, okay, and butter. So first I have some Tesco unsalted butter. It is dated the 20th of August 2020, which is out of date, but you know I like using out of date food, so who cares. It's the same butter that I used in the previous video when I made a bread and butter pudding, okay. First I'm going to switch on the scales, and I'm going to put 50 grams in. Need a bit less. Take a bit off. A bit more off. I don't trust these scales, it's weird. It's ridiculous. I think maybe the batteries in the scales are gone. I'm going to put half it. Okay. Put all this extra in. So what is it without anything? Oh shit, you pig. Yeah. Sorry, just something fell. Wait a minute. 21. 21, that's 52. It was okay in the first place. Wait a minute, so if I take that out, it's roughly 23. So it was alright in the first place. Okay, I actually need a bit more. It's strange, that scale should just work. Anyway. $28. Why does it keep changing? Okay, I'm going to reset it. Right. 55. 53, that'll do. I'm not bothered about 2 extra. Right, now, I've got to put an extra... I've got some caster sugar. I'm using Whitworth's. It's a cheap brand. I probably would be better off using a better brand, but it'll do. It's what I have, okay? Now, I'm going to make this up to about... Again, why do these keep changing all the time? This is ridiculous. Look, depending on where it is on the table, it keeps changing the weight, depending where it is on the table. It's ridiculous. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. The weight should not change depending on where the scales are on the table. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to reset it. Not because normally I recommend this, but... Oh, that's why the batteries are low. It's complaining about the batteries. Okay, never mind. Didn't have any of these problems in the past when I did it with manual scales, but never mind. Right. Now I'm going to sprinkle in some... $48, $49, that will do. I'm not bothered about 1 extra gram. Right, so now I've also got to put in something called vanilla essence or vanilla extract. It's vanilla essence, extract, it's the same thing. You're meant to put in about half a teaspoon. I'm just going to, I think it's something like that. Half a teaspoon. But because I'm actually doing half the recipe, I'm going to put it in a quarter. I'm just going to guess it, to be honest. That's probably enough. And now what I'm meant to do is, it says cream them together, so I'm going to use a wooden spoon. You can use, I believe, now I'm going to take it off the weights, okay, so I'm going to put them somewhere. It's a lot easier with margarine, but I'm using real butter, okay? I'm going to use my hands to do some of this. I'm not sure you're supposed to. I think you're supposed to just use a wooden spoon, but it's going to take forever. I'm doing this to try and melt the butter in my hands. Just because I'm trying to film it. And it should then hopefully be a bit faster. Okay, so that looks like it's pretty much it. Okay. Now, eggs. Right, so now I've got to add some eggs and some flour, okay? Okay. Now, it tells you to put in an egg. And it also tells you, just a minute. Okay, so I've put the eggs in. And now, I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon of the sift mixture. Which is what they've said. And now it tells you to beat the eggs and the floured mixture and the butter together, so that's what I'm doing. I'm sure it would be better in a food mixer, but never mind. Wait a minute. I'm trying to push it against the side so that Okay, I'm going to try and move this. I might not bob out some of them because I'm sure when it's cooking it will sort itself out. Normally people use a food mixture for this, so that's why they probably did the way they did. But I'm trying to do it the hard way. I'm aware some of it will have some lumpy bits of butter, but I'm sure when it cooks, it'll sort itself out. So right, although I know it's not ideal, it's lumpy, it'll have to do. Now, I have to put in right, so now it says fold the rest of it in, so I'm going to put the rest of this flour mixture in. Right, and that says fold it in, so they mean like this. So rather than beat it, they mean fold it in like this. So rather than going like that, you go like this. Okay, so it looks like that might be okay. I'm aware that some of the butter's not... No, let's see if I can move some of that butter out. Now, okay, so right now, I know there's some bits of butter there, but it'll do. Now, right, so all I need to do now is add some milk, okay? Now apparently, I need apparently a tablespoon of milk. I'm checking. Yep, so it says cold milk, so I'm gonna get the milk, wait. Okay, here I have some Tesco milk. And I'm going to say it wants a tablespoon, so it says do it slowly, so I'm going to now move the milk out of the way. And again, I'm meant to mix it, so it says do it slowly. I can't do it very easily. That's all the milk. And again, I'm going to fold it in. It's going much better now. It's moving much better now. I'm going to try and just... Did it say beat? So slowly mixing the milk. Okay, so I've done that. The next thing will be to put it into a pudding bowl. I don't have a pudding bowl, so I'm going to use the same thing. Fold it in. I'd just like to test it. I'd just like to taste them sometimes because I have made this kind of thing before, but usually it's been cakes, not rather than. So it's been when I've made a chocolate sponge cake rather than a pudding. So okay, now I'm going to check that I've done everything. Okay, so I'm now going to do it in the same way as I did before. So I'm now going to move these out of the way. Wait a minute. Okay, now I've got to butter the pudding tin or pie tin, which really is meant to be used for puddings, but I'm going to use. So I've got the same butter again. I've just used a small amount of it. This is just so I can grease the, I might have to put some more in, but this is so I can grease the, so it will come out properly. I checked earlier how much you're supposed to use. So there you go, I've now greased the pie tin, which I'm using for pudding. Normally you'd have a circular one, so normally you try and have a circular one, but this is what we have. And I'm not going to go out and buy things on my budget I don't need, just for the sake of it looking a bit prettier, okay? So that's that done. Now I'm going to spoon this in. I'll put all this in here now. This is where it's all going to probably go wrong. I wasn't sure of what size to use. To be completely honest with you, and oh, they do use a pie dish, right? So amazing. They said use a pie dish. So okay. I thought they would say use a proper pudding dish, but I do say a pie dish, so okay, that's fine. So I'm going to try and get the rest of this in. Now I'm going to try and get... I'm amazed because I thought you would, you'd need a smaller pie bowl than that, but I'm just using what they told you to use. I even put some water in earlier to see how much it could store. And it can store about a pint, so... maybe it expands a lot, maybe. Anyway... I'm not going to make some off the side, so... okay. Now, I'm going to put all this in the oven and hope for the best. So at the moment, now just wait a minute. Okay, right. Now, I'm going to put this in the oven. So I'm going to show you the oven. I'm going to turn it to about, they say 180, but I know this oven can get rather hot if you don't, because it's a very small oven, things tend to get a bit too hot sometimes, so I'm now going to put it in the oven on 150, even though anyway, I've put it in on 180, so it's supposed to be 180, but I've put in, sorry, 150, I'm not thinking, sorry. So there you go, that is the, it's now in the oven, okay, and it's supposed to be in, if I had done the correct amount, it should be in for 45 minutes, but I've done half of it, so I'm going to put it in for about 30 minutes, okay, but I'm going to check it every now and again, okay. Right, so that's that, okay. Okay, I think it's ready now, so I'm going to take it out. I'm now going to put it here, okay? Now, I have here something called a skewer, and I put the skewer, the sponge pudding with this, whatever they call it. Is it sponge pudding? Yep. And I take it out to see if there's anything on the end, okay, anything bad on the end, okay. So there's no mixture coming out, so this is dry, so it's cooked, okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm not sure, this is probably going to be a total disaster. I'm going to try and put a lot of this into this pie bowl. And now I'm going to eat it, okay? Guys, as I said, I'm now going to eat it, okay, before it goes cold, okay? Now, as I said, I found out the hard way, but I think this is just the same as doing a normal cake, frankly, apart from they've called it a pudding instead. Because having seen how it turns out like, and knowing what it tasted like when I was making it, I think it's just the same as when you did a Victoria sponge, Victoria sandwich sponge, apart from this is the chocolate version of it, okay? So there you go, guys, okay? That's the final result, okay? It's starting to go cold now, so I have to sort of meddle with the computer and take it upstairs and things like that, but don't worry. It's practically now the same as eating a cake, to be honest. It's still a bit warm, so as normally with a cake, you wait for it to go cold, okay? So there you go, guys. Me cooking chocolate sponge pudding, okay? And often you would have custard with this, or maybe cream, or in the past we've had custard with it. I perhaps should think about it. And in the past we used to buy these Heinz sponge puddings. I think they're quite similar to this, and they'd already done it for you, and you just heated it. You put a tin or something like that in the saucepan, and it heated it, and then you took it out, and it had finished. When it had finished, you just took it out, put it on to a plate or a pudding bowl, and then put some custard on as well. So I should really probably have some custard with this, but it's getting cold and I'm too lazy to open the tin, to be completely honest with you, okay? Or am I? I don't know. There's a bit less of it left now, so I might do that. I'm going to add some custard to this now, okay? I'm going to put this in the microwave, but I'm not sure, I don't think you probably should put it in the microwave, but I'm going to anyway, just to warm it up a bit. I'm not going to show that, it's too, and now I'm going to add some custard, okay? In fact, I think I'll put this custard in here and put the lot in the microwave, okay? Okay, right. Now I've put it into the microwave and heated it. Now, I'm going, it's a bit hot, so now I'm going to eat it, okay? With the custard on. Okay, now I'm not sure if it's a good idea to actually put sponge in the microwave, and I would have been better off putting some custard first, heating the custard up, and then putting the sponge in after. But you know, or doing it the other way around, putting the heating the custard first, then pouring it over the sponge. But I've already made the sponge, and it's starting to go cold. And I only just thought about this at the last minute, so okay. So there you go, guys. Me eating chocolate sponge pudding with custard, okay? Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.